Well, thank you very much. It's totally uncommon. We're so good in time, so I was a little surprised. But now, of course, without further ado, while the usual seat changing can go on, I'll just already welcome on stage Luisa Kruse, Senior Innovation Manager at Tech Quartier, and Kerstin Weihe, Manager Solution Consulting at ServiceNow. Thank you very much for being on the panel. Yeah, take your seats as you see fit.
Space in between?
Don't need to, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, thank you very much. And it's actually pretty nice because that leaves me time for a very quick statement I wanted to make. And that is, we've heard since yesterday a lot of stuff that the financial tech sector needs, like innovation, money, of course, also proper regulation. But I think what we also definitely need is the opportunity for more women to thrive and make impact in that industry. And so I'm even more happy to have you here with me because I'm sitting on an extremely rare 100% female panel that I have the pleasure to moderate. And so I think you give a really good example of what we as a community should strive for. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
The invitation.
Yeah, cloud. Let's go into the topic. And I think everybody has a good idea, at least why we're dealing with cloud, maybe also where the intricacies of that technology are. But give us maybe as an introduction, a quick statement, like what you do in your work, who are you, and why cloud is an important topic for you and your environment. Luisa.
First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Luisa Kruse. I'm Senior Manager at the Frankfurt Innovation Hub Tech Quartier. And Tech Quartier is a community-sourced innovation orchestrator. This means our hub oversees a large and curated community of startups, most of which operate in the fintech segment, but we also cover other segments, for example, in the ag tech field, sports techs, or green tech, and many more. And together with our startups, we develop corporate innovation formats on specific trend topics. And of course, cloud computing as a key technology is important to our partners, to our startups, bringing them business value in terms of scalability, flexibility, and also cost effectiveness. And of course, a huge variety of applications. So that's one point. And on the other hand, we are also involved in strategic projects, governmental projects such as Gaia X, but also our own research projects like the Financial Big Data Cluster and the Eurodata project, where we we work on and build on European standards and regulations for secure and compliant cloud computing, and in the next evolutionary stage also data sharing, data democratizing, data analytics.
Thank you. Kerstin, what's cloud to you and what do you do?
Yeah, thank you very much as well from my side, from ServiceNow side, for having us here on stage or for having us here at Bitkom at all. I think it's the first time for us that we are really here. Yeah, as I said, my name is Kerstin Weihe. I'm Senior Manager within ServiceNow Germany, responsible for financial services industry. I'm leading the solution consultant there. And for those few who don't ServiceNow by now, we are the digital platform that connects your services, your functions, your systems and people together to provide one really seamless digital experience in your company. So we are breaking down the silos, we are connecting all the systems, so we are the digital layer for the digital transformation in all kind of areas, from the back-end processes so to the front-end processes as well. So we started off in 2004 on a generic ground, but we are more and more building up our industry expertise, and financial services industry is for sure one of a big industry, very important industry for us, and therefore we are happy to be here as well and to have good discussions about what we can bring to the industry. And yeah, what is cloud for us? Cloud is our heart and cloud is our home. We are born in the cloud, so we are a native cloud company, and So we only provide cloud solutions to our customers, to our partners, and this is for one good reason, to really enable our partners and clients to be most innovative, really to focus, to have the scalability and to focus on innovations here for their customers.
Yeah, so let's get a little more into detail. So some stuff was already mentioned. So we have the cloud phenomenon and technology. We have data space initiative. We have Gaia X. So there's lots of activity, but of course the question is, and we already touched upon that yesterday, how much momentum is in the industry, especially when you include the incumbent players, the big banks, and not only the cloud native newcomers that have started now or a couple of years ago. So Kerstin, what's your assessment how cloud ready is our finance ecosystem as a whole? Can you share some insights based on your projects?
So what we are experiencing is at least everybody has a cloud strategy. Even Mr. Würmling from Deutsche Bundesbank said they have a cloud strategy. So it's more about the majority of the cloud strategy, if it's still on paper or if it's still in production. But at least we see this, and we have our customer base amongst all big players in the financial industry, not only the fintechs but also the big established insurances and banks, and we see they all have a cloud strategy and they are all working towards a cloud strategy. They may not start with the big critical business projects, but in the back end there's a lot of movement into the cloud. There's a lot of shift back from the old technology stack, which is, I don't know, decades or 20, 30 years old. And so there is this is already common sense, I would say. It's just a matter of maturity in the industry.
Okay. You mentioned it. I mean, the cloud technology itself is flanked by a lot of activities, so FBDC, Gaia X, and others. Can you tell us how you deal with those issues and how do you take them on in order to help your partners, or how that whole initiative gathering is perceived when you and your partners deal with cloud?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So I think we have to differentiate between these initiatives because they are not exactly the same. They bring different values to the industry. Let me maybe start with Gaia X because I think that's an initiative which is quite well known. There was a lot of media attention in the past, and I think what is important to mention here is that Gaia X is not meant to be a new European cloud provider, nor is it even a market operator, but Gaia X is a European or French-German initiative that basically develops a software framework of governance and control mechanisms, implements policies, rules, and also some technical artifacts in order to obtain controllability, interoperability, and portability across data and services. So the framework can basically be implemented on any existing cloud technology stack. So it doesn't matter which cloud provider is involved. So, and I think that's important. We have also heard in the panel discussion yesterday evening that regulation needs standards. So I think that's a very good way where Gaia X is currently going, although it's still under development. It's not quite there yet. On the other hand, we have our research projects, the Financial Big Data Cluster, the FBDC. This is funded by the German Federal Ministry of Economics and Climate Protection. And the aim of these projects is to prototype and to evaluate data infrastructures on the cloud for a secure exchange, cross-institutional exchange of financial data. So the goal is to pool data for certain business cases, for example, in order to prevent money laundering or market manipulation across institutions. This is why also we, in the context of FBDC, are working very closely together with GaiaX and other initiatives, for example, the ECUC, the European Cloud User Coalition, that develop common requirements, standards, in order to foster innovation, foster cloud adoption, and thus also AI and prediction models.
Okay. Yeah, I remember from my own times that the difference between portability requirements by the regulator and, of course, also managed service availability and embedding your services into, for example, the cloud environment of a hyperscaler are stuff that seems to be mutually exclusive to begin with. But this is obviously something that needs to be tackled. So we come from the initiatives to the fact that there is not only a lot of initiatives flanking, among others, cloud usage, but of course there's also regulation. So we have NIS, we have FISG, we have DORA that was already mentioned this morning. Do you think that companies can be overwhelmed with this regulation? Can you help them? Or what is your take on that, maybe Kerstin?
It can be overwhelming because it's coming from so many angles, and I hope we are getting some good European regulations that covers everything. So at least that would be my wish if I had one. But it could also help on the other hand, like you said, it can give you guidance on what you need to focus on, and you just need to plan carefully on how you approach these things, and then if you go step by step, this should be this should be manageable, and not only you have that all regulations by moving into the cloud, you have that regulations anyway, so you have to face them anyway, these regulations, and by working together with someone who's covering these regulations, with a cloud provider and who's covering these regulations as well, because this is part of our core business here, to protect data, to protect against cybercrimes, and so that could be even easier for a company or for a financial institution than taking care of all these. Of all these requirements itself, because otherwise you need to make your own technology stack ready for compliance, and that's even more difficult than to working with someone together who is already ready in that area.
Okay. Yeah, that leaves the tricky question. I mean, we have the regulation, which is obviously government-based, and we have initiatives which are sometimes to a certain extent government-backed. Do you think those two match, Luisa, or are they just kind of like taken out side by side, and GaiaX doesn't fit to DORA?
No, I don't think so. I totally agree with what Kerstin said, and I think that these initiatives, GaiaX and also ECUC, are a kind of natural consequence of companies being somehow overwhelmed by regulation. But I mean, of course, it's important to be compliant, to be secure, follow the European values and standards. So really ensure real protection of data and information. Talking about my own project, what we do, we, for example, formulate position papers to regulators, to politicians, to the government in Hessen, on certain business cases, not so general, but explaining them how the technology that we use preserves data sovereignty and doesn't violate any data protection regulations. But other initiatives, for example, the ECUC, the European Cloud User Coalition, they directly work on these directives that you've mentioned to make them understandable to other banks. So the ECUC is a merger of different banks tackling these challenges basically together. So I think they work very great on these topics.
And also you are doing just what I think Mr. Würmeling and Mr. Brandenburg asked for yesterday, is just more operative exchange between the industry players and the lawmakers and the regulators. Great, but this is very high level also from a regulatory perspective. Let's take this one step down. You said, Kerstin, yes, most banks, and to my knowledge also by now many or most insurers are having a cloud strategy in place. either on paper or on the way to implementation. What do you observe? What are the main obstacles that are in the way of implementing those strategies fluidly, quickly? Is it IT prioritization? Is it lack of money? Is it still understanding about the opportunities and importance? Is it a question of overall company culture? What do you encounter?
It's a combination, I would say. It's a bit of cultural issue, a bit, but I don't think it's a money problem as such. Is where to put the money, because if you look at especially at the established financial industries like the big bank, the established insurances, there you have a huge legacy stack, as I said before. So 20, 30 years old systems that you need to maintain, and a lot of money just goes into that area to keep the lights on. So, and you need to move slowly into the cloud, really to reduce this step by step, these keeping the lights on and freeing up money then on the other hand for innovations. And that goes not from one day to the other, where you can just say, okay, we just put all the money out of our old legacy stuff and just focus on the cloud. So this is a long way to go. This is a approach you need to plan carefully, because you can't, as I said, just put your old stuff into the cloud and then be innovative. So this is the balance that is maybe the biggest challenge for big companies, for established companies, in comparison to the new fintechs that mainly start with a few or a little legacy or even on a green field and start directly in the cloud. So you just need to manage all the old stuff as well here.
Okay. What do you see in your job?
I would agree. I don't think it's a matter of importance or a matter of yes or no. It's rather a matter of when, how fast, and to what extent, as you said, Kerstin. And that's what we also see in our daily work with the banks. So, I mean, the hyperscalers have yet made their way into all of the large German banks. And it's also, it is so necessary. It has always also been discussed yesterday evening, the German angst, and that it takes us so long to adapt to new technologies. I mean, cloud has been there for like 15 years. So we maybe need to move a little faster, also to take the next step, to democratize data analytics, to make every company that sits on huge amounts of data an AI-driven company. And that's what you need cloud computing for, right?
Okay. Let's take one aspect of German angst, or maybe not. You were mentioning that, of course, part of the cloud transformation is the question of which applications, which processes go to the cloud in what time. And I've had discussions where basically you could say, okay, let's take the approach and learning by doing, take some, let's say, less important activities in the company, maybe also one that are less severely regulated, learn using the cloud and then move into the more critical applications. Others have been saying, and I have some examples in the insurance space, where they said, okay, it's such a profound overhaul also of IT operations when you suddenly start working cloud more and more in your IT, that it's very important to take on critical applications early, and of course not do a lift and shift, but do all the necessary stuff that surrounds real cloud environment work and put it there early, because otherwise buy-in and also the importance of a cloud transformation may not be so obvious. Do you have an opinion on that? What or a recommendation even?
Yeah, I think both is correct. So with new products, with innovative products, you need to start in the cloud. You need to start directly in the cloud. That's my opinion. But you also have, especially in the insurance industry as well as in the banking industry, you have a lot of established products where you just can't put them into the cloud. So you have to split between. So again, you have to manage your old stack, but all the innovations, and you see that with all the banks and insurance as well. Everybody has its own innovation center where all the new products and ideas are developed, and they are developed on new stacks. And they're developed in the cloud. They are developed with latest technology, and this will be the way, I think, the way into the future, if we want to play a role in 10, 15 years as well in the market, that you need to develop all your new stacks and new technologies and products into the cloud and be ready with the new latest technologies, but also, providing or slowly transforming your existing business as well into the cloud. And this by far is much more difficult than just starting on a greenfield approach.
But since, I mean, also overall, we luckily moved around away from big bang approaches in IT, you would agree that that means a two-speed architecture management for insurances and banks for a considerable amount of time.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. We touched upon the fact also yesterday that it's not only a question of working in cloud transformation with and for yourself as a bank or an insurance company, but also by now it has a lot to do with accessibility and cooperation with partners who are either themselves cloud native and or you need cloud functionality or at least cloud abilities in order to really cooperate with them. Has that sunk in the industry that also cloud is important as a phenomenon, as a technology, because otherwise you may have cut yourself off from partnerships and vendors?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in my working environment, at least, I would say yes, sure. So we work together with all kinds of cloud providers, specialized cloud providers, hyperscalers in our projects, where regulators, banks, public institutions, research institutions are involved. So we are a huge consortium of different players all working together in the cloud. So yeah, I would say yes.
Okay. Anything you might want to add on that topic?
No, absolutely agree to this. I mean, without cloud, you will not be able to use all the new technology in the future. I mean, AI requires cloud. So without cloud, you will be left behind, definitely.
So maybe lastly, let's come back to a question that was just briefly touched upon yesterday, somewhere between dominance of US players and sovereignty issues within the European Union, where it was interesting that I think everybody agreed yesterday that it's ruled out that there can be anything anymore like a German market sovereignty when it comes to technology or, of course, financial institutions. But honestly, I mean, with all the European initiatives, with all the work that also industry cooperations hold when it comes to technology development, especially, but not only in cloud, do you believe that this will lead, and as much as I would wish for a powerful European hyperscaler, or data spaces, do you believe this is going to lead significantly to a European branded tech environment in cloud, in data storage, or wherever? Or do you think most of the industry players by now have made their peace with US hyperscalers and nothing is really going to change over the next 10 years?
I hope that this field has been opened now to European players as well, as this is now an established technology. I mean, even though I say this, working for an American company, you know, I mean, but we see, even we see that it is necessary to provide a European cloud. So we have even German cloud here for our customers here in Germany. And we provide an European data management, so to give the customers the assurance that data will stay in Europe. And I hope that that will attract European players as well to provide and to come up with ideas here for Europe and to be more leading in the future. And I hope when I look here around, and it's so many good ideas, so many interesting companies are here, that will lead to some great European leadership here in that sector as well.
Since you're also involved in some projects, what's your opinion on that, and what's the sentiment with the people you work with?
I would agree, and I also liked what Professor Dr. Würmeling said yesterday about sovereignty. It's not about European cloud sovereignty, it's about reflecting European values and standards in a secure and compliant working environment with cloud solutions in order to make us AI ready, in order to be able to work with huge amounts of data, with real protection of data and information. And that's what also Gaia X is about. I mean, Gaia X works cloud agnostic. So if you're a bank and you would like to apply some kind of cloud solution, and this market operator you chose obtains the Gaia X standard, then this market operator has a certain security level depending on different factors, for example, where the operator is located and many other factors. And then I, as a bank, can be sure my data is safe in this environment, my applications are safe. And that's important. Data sovereignty is important so that I'm always in control of my own data. I know what happens to my own data, but I don't think that we need like this huge new European Amazon. So yeah, that's my opinion, and I think that's also the opinion that is represented in our project. We work together with the hyperscalers. It's very beneficial for us. We also work together with smaller cloud providers. So that's my opinion on this.
Thanks, great. One question from the audience, if there is one. Because otherwise, I'm grateful for the former panel because they've lent us another 3-4 minutes, which are now also spent. So thanks so much. That was very insightful also for me. And yeah, good luck in your endeavors when it comes to transforming cloud in the companies and other topics. And I hope you have a pleasant remainder of the day. Thank you.
Thank you
very much.